We can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here this morning. I'm so privileged at the invitation that was extended to me by the leadership at Enterprise Uganda through Mr. Ronald Mukasa. Rightly presented, I am Catherine Poran, the Chief Executive at Stanbic Business Incubator. I've been at the incubator, this is my third month, but as Ronald rightly stated, I have been with the bank or the Stanbic family for 21 years. So one would say that Stanbic has been a good employer to me, but also at the same time, I've been in different, operating in different capacities. So it's really a privilege for me to be here this morning. Without much ado, I'll set into the presentation. I would like this session to be as interactive as possible. I think the one thing that I will say is that learning never stops. So this is also learning for me. We normally tell our participants at the end of the program, if there's going to be progress, we must individually and in groups keep on learning and applying the lessons we learn back in business and personal lives. So even the key takeaway from this presentation, please continue learning and please continue sharing, and that's how we grow. So I will start off just talking about who we are. So the incubator started in 2018. And when we started as a result of government conversations around oil and gas. At that time, government was able to ring fence of 16 services, saying that these actually we should see Ugandans participating in these services. But it's one thing saying that Ugandans should participate, and it's another thing asking ourselves, are they ready to participate? And so we put our hands up to say, why can't we support, Ugandans to participate by capacity building them, but also by sharing information about what this sector is all about. It was new to us, and so it needed that Ugandans are ready to participate, because this is a sector that is mostly driven by international organizations. So it was imperative that we share with the SMEs, but also the local entrepreneurs about what the sector was about, but also prepare them to participate in what government had ring-fenced as for Ugandans. So our philosophy, as I said, we started on the 4th of February in 2018. We are a subsidiary of Stanbic Uganda Limited, and we are a leading partner in enterprise development. Our vision is to be a trusted partner for the development of the private sector in Uganda. And our mission is to develop strong and resilient small and growing businesses, as well as the business leaders, through custom-tailored programs for business growth. And this is in conjunction with our purpose. Uganda is our home, we drive our growth. Moving on, the topic that we are talking about today is oil and gas. So it's important for us to remind ourselves about the insights and the opportunity that the oil and gas opportunity provides for us. So it's actually to state that the opportunity is not new. It is growing and is currently classified into 4 main areas. Many of you are aware about the developments in the oil gas fields that were discovered, Tilenga, Kingfisher. These are run by Total Energies and CNOOC respectively. And I've just shown a map so that at least you see where the locations, just remind ourselves. I'm sure many of you are aware about that. Tilenga is in the northern field, and then Kingfisher, which is run by CNOOC, is on the lower side. We also have the midstream, and this is where you find the refinery, the Kabale refinery that we anticipate. We believe that it will be a 60 barrel per day refinery. We also have ECOP. This is the phased construction of a crude oil refinery. Sorry, there's the Kabale, which will be at Kabale. The refinery will be at Kabale. Currently, I don't know if you've heard about front-end engineering design, which is being undertaken, but the construction of the refinery is estimated to cost about 4 billion US dollars. So in there will be opportunities for SMEs as well. Then the third is the construction of the 1,443 kilometer crude export pipeline from Hoima, Kabale to Tanga. This is estimated to cost about 3.55 billion US dollars. These are such big numbers that we have not experienced. The other day, somebody was telling me that actually for the longest time, the largest infrastructure project or project that government of Uganda had undertaken was Karuma, which was about 1.2 billion US dollars. Now we are talking bigger numbers with the recent SGR, that is north of 2 billion. So these are actually north of even the 2 billion that we are talking about from an SGR perspective. Then lastly, the issuance of new licenses. These are production licenses over the new areas. And I'm sure you've heard about that. Kasuruban, that one is under UNOC. We have Ngasa, we have Kanywa Twaba. So these are these are new areas that are being undertaken from a perspective of, exploring new areas in future. My slides have disappeared. I'm not so sure.
Yes, Catherine, we seem to have lost the slides which we are really enjoying. I'm not very
Okay.
sure whether Lydia, can you reproject? You can just undo and then project again.
Case is where the Stanbic incubator comes in. After we've talked about oil and gas, the opportunities in oil and gas, where do we come in? Many of you have heard about national content. Others probably understand local content. So the legislation provided a robust platform for growth of our existing local corporates to participate, which we felt was a good opportunity for us as Uganda, but also the entrepreneurs and also the local economy. If you think about the 20 billion investment that is due to be made across the oil and gas sector, the industry, the upstream, government anticipates at least 6 billion of that should be spent locally. And that's where the local entrepreneurs come in. And so, what do we understand by national content or local content? It means value added or created in the Ugandan economy through the employment of Ugandan workers and the use of goods produced or available in Uganda and services provided by Ugandan citizens and entrepreneurs or enterprises. About the key pillars of national content, we play in two areas, which is capacity building and enterprise development. That's not to say that we don't touch on the other pillars, because by virtue of capacity building, we are also transferring knowledge. But the transfer of knowledge and technology, that is more around mostly the international companies, that transfer of knowledge from what the international companies have to the local entrepreneurs, especially if they are in joint venture partnerships. Employment of Ugandans, I did mention that what we do as well is actually also talent development, SME talent development. So by extension, we actually make also Ugandans employable within the oil and gas perspective. Because if you're an SME or if you're an entrepreneur, by virtue of that, actually, the staff that you employ, if you allow them to come to the incubator, by extension, they become employable as Ugandan citizens. And then the use of locally produced goods, we might not necessarily participate in this space, but by extension, in terms of capacity building and enterprise development, we do play a lead role in that. So the solutions we provide are across a number of areas, from capacity building, which I've talked about, enhancing the skills, knowledge of SMEs so that we improve their efficiencies. partnership and collaborating, pooling resources and expertise and networks so that we empower businesses to overcome the challenges so that they are able to achieve their success and sustainable growth. We also extend mentorship and coaching. Once you've been through capacity building, we still continue to handhold you by mentoring you and coaching you. And this is a 6 months activity that we run with an SME. Then we also talk about access to markets. Many of you might not have known, but there was a study that was done by the oil majors when they first came into the market. And one of and a number of issues were raised, especially in the SME space. And a number of factors that came up is that most SMEs don't last their third birthday. And the reasons that they gave were 7. But we actually concentrated on the top 3 because majority were in the top 3. Many SMEs would have expected access to finance to be top, but what actually was ailing SMEs was governance. Many of them were not running their businesses well. Many of them were commingling personal money and also business money. Many of them were failing to even formalize their businesses, but then they expected their businesses to last. There are certain things that we do that should allow us actually to operate better. The other factor was access to markets, which I think is very important. What we do, we share new market opportunities with businesses, but also we support them to extend their customer base. And this is through fostering, and this also supports them in fostering their growth and competitiveness. Then the last one, which was number 3, was access to finance. So one might say that by extension of being in the Stanbic family, access to finance should be easier. Yes, it should, but also access to finance falls under 3 pillars. The first is loans, the second is equity, the third grants. So we run all these 3 pillars at the Stanbic incubators. There will be businesses that we feel are not ready to borrow. And so we invite them to participate in our grant matching, or those that are not, those that we believe that they will grow faster if equity is injected, we also invite them. And I just want to make an announcement that we will be making a call for grants soon. So look out in the newspapers. You never know. You might be one of those businesses that benefits from the grants from Stanbic. But this is in partnership with USADF, a US agency. So what I can say that we have registered some successes. So we've seen some tailwinds in the oil and gas sector since we started in 2018. So during the implementation of the projects, we have witnessed several wins for Ugandans or Ugandan enterprises and the economy as a whole from a national content perspective. From the contracts that have been awarded during the development stage, 26% of the 7.2 billion US dollars has gone to Ugandan entrepreneurs. And for me, that is a positive. Who would have known that about $1.8 billion would be, Ugandan farms meeting those contracts? And this is across sectors, whether it's logistics, whether it's catering, accommodation. So this is across sectors. So we are not yet there, but I think it's a good start. And remember that there was the exploration stage. Now we are in the development stage. And then we have operation and maintenance stage coming up. In the next 18 to 24 months, the operation and maintenance stage should start. Then Petroleum Authority developed the National Supplier Database, in which all potential suppliers are registered. 75% companies registered are Ugandans. So that is now have the ability and the capacity, the oil and gas sector. The oil and gas sector directly employs 14,451 people, of whom 13,048 are Ugandans, which is 90% local participation. But it also gets better. in that 5,152 are employed from the host communities. And this is like your areas of Hoima, Noya, all that area. At least there are people within the oil vicinity that are employed, and they can actually see it. And then there's also the National Oil and Gas Talent Register, which has 9,400 Ugandans as well. So which means it's also a positive. From a local enterprise development, at the Stanbic Business Incubator, in partnership with Petroleum Authority, UNOC, CNOC, Total, we have provided capacity building of nearly 3,000 SMEs. But in terms of the other capacity building entities, Stanbic Business Incubator has actually built capacity of 90% of these SMEs in the oil and gas sector. And I'm happy to report that 70% of the SMEs that went through the Stanbic Business Incubator did get an opportunity to participate in the oil and gas sector. And we are most proud about that. And through this incubator, we've seen several entrepreneurs gain skills and business mentorship opportunities. These have transformed their business systems and have enabled them to participate in the sectors. We have also seen quarterly stakeholder engagements. This is in partnership with Petroleum Authority, in partnership with UNOC, but also Uganda Chamber of Mining and Petroleum. So we've seen those quarterly engagements. Some have been monthly to the extent possible. We recently concluded the 90 days of oil and gas, where we partnered with Uganda Chamber of Mining and Petroleum as well. And during those 90 days, we actually encourage entrepreneurs who are ready now to supply into oil and gas to register on the National Supplier Database. We've also had national and regional conferences where we have seen ourselves participating, in which information is also and opportunities are disseminated about the sector. And also we also encourage experience sharing amongst suppliers. But even as we have registered successes, there have been also headwinds where we see that there are key capacity gaps that are still in existence. What I can tell you is that when we had the baseline survey that was done, the following gaps in terms of key gaps were found. There was manpower, mechanical construction services, road, civil works, construction, light iron and steel products, transportation, logistics, work safety products. So all these there were gaps that were found. And I can say that whereas we've registered improvement in terms of building capacities for many of the Ugandan entrepreneurs, we still are not yet there. And so it's imperative that we continue to build capacity for Ugandans to participate. One thing that I can tell you that the enterprise development initiatives that were implemented have increased the number of Ugandan companies with the capacity to meet and exceed oil and gas requirements. And I like this data point. We have seen the growth of companies expressing interest in oil and gas procurement from 1,700 companies in 2021 to over 3,100 as of June this year. So it means there is a lot of progress, but we should not hold back. We should continue to improve ourselves. I'm telling you to improve are the opportunities that are coming in the maintenance, but also the opportunities that are coming, whether be it in Tanzania, Namibia, Mozambique, the opportunities that are coming in oil and gas. So Ugandans should not limit themselves to the opportunity in Uganda, but as we build capacity, we should see ourselves actually going outside Uganda. A case in point that I always give as an example is Nigeria. Nigeria is one of those countries that has done exceptionally well in building local content or national content. You will not be surprised to hear that there are Nigerians in Uganda who are participating in the oil and gas, and moreover from an exploration perspective. Not in your logistics or catering, but in exploration. We want Ugandans to go up the ladder in terms of the opportunities, not just the 16 ring-fenced services that government has provided. We have seen Ugandan entrepreneurs become internationally certified. That is one thing that we should be aspiring to do. And this, by virtue of being certified, it enables Ugandan companies to favorably compete. And in some cases, we've seen Ugandans actually outcompete the international companies. And so that is kudos for Ugandan entrepreneurs. But the other thing that I want to encourage Ugandan companies is that consider joint ventures. This also enables Ugandan companies to participate in areas where we are shaky or weak, but it also allows that skills transfer. And we've seen joint venture partnerships, especially in waste management, in road construction. We've also seen them in the mechanical construction. So I would want to encourage even you, the entrepreneurs that are here, don't be shy from considering joint venture partnership. It is good for us. But I want to say that there are still gaps in the provision of production, operational services, and efforts to close these gaps are now the main focus of the incubator going forward. Because as I said, we first started with exploration, and then we came to, and now we are going to production, and after production, we are going into operations. But I want to caution, but also to encourage those of you who are here that what are some of those blockers to winning contracts? There are challenges pre, during, and post contract awarding. Pre award, one critical area that actually SMEs or entrepreneurs fail on is unpreparedness. One, they fail to register on the National Supplier Database on time. They fail to register with other relevant bodies, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, URA, PPDA, and then the other one is poorly written bids and financials, then late submissions. I want to encourage us, please seek the services of professionals, especially this sector is quite complex. So if you're not prepared for it, be rest assured that you will not participate in it. We are open to come and for you to come in and seek advice from us about your bids, about whatever it is inquiry you have about the sector. Then the lack of knowledge on the creation of joint ventures and the fear of operation under joint venture. This module, we've had this module around joint ventureship. And we encourage that when we start the supply development program early next year, we encourage those who would want to understand joint ventureship to please apply. Then the other blockers when you are awarded the contract is failing to read and understand contracts by SMEs who take on these contracts directly or are subcontracted. Please use the services of professionals. Your lawyers are there. And please don't go for any lawyer. Spend a little money, but get the rightful lawyer to look into this contract for you. Then also planning for financial risk. Many times, and this has been my experience even over my career, many times SMEs don't want to think about risks. Risks are all over us. And these are external factors that, you may not be able to control. But what is important is how are you mitigating these risks? Last Friday, we had a session where we invited the alumni we'd also have master classes, but to take them through the risks that they should expect or anticipate in their businesses and how they mitigate them. So mine is to advise you that one key area is financial risk. There are many things that can punch you from the left, which you are not expectant. Not only financial, but it can be any other things, technological risks. They can be many risks, operational risks, failure to ascertain the necessary risks that involved in the usage of specific, for instance, vehicles. For instance, if you've gone to the Hoima area where the oil fields, there's particular gear that you're supposed to wear. There are particular vehicles that that you're expected even to use for business. So be aware about some of these things, even as you have been awarded the contract. Then during post-award, most SMEs lack sufficient experience to take on the work and need to partner with those with experience to get the jobs. And I will speak candidly about this. most SMEs or most people in Uganda who have won awards have almost been like Kayungirizis. Are people who actually don't have experience. They anticipate that if I partner with somebody else, that person will do the work. And then we miss out that is important, which is knowledge transfer. Then we miss out also the opportunity Ugandans to work, because national content speaks to employment, speaks to transfer of knowledge, but it also speaks to the value that stays in Uganda. So if you're in a joint venture partnership and you're just a silent partner, it means that the majority of the benefit is actually flying out of Uganda. It won't stay in Uganda. Then secondly, the other aspect is failure to execute the contracts to the quality or standards required. Let me tell you a story. Recently, we heard of a contractor who was contracted to provide sand. Sand. I don't know what happened to this contractor, whether he didn't read in the contract that they asked him to provide sand. This contractor provided soil. Those are two different things. Sand and soil are two different things. Now, how embarrassing that is. In the oil and gas sector, it's not like any other sector. They are very strict in terms of the standards, in terms of the quality. So he was told to take back his sand, and I don't know how many trucks he had ferried, and they said no, we need sand, and there's a purpose, a reason why we need sand, because when it rains the water has to go through the sand. We need porousness, because pipes were going to sit on those, on the sand. But if it is soil, it means then water was going to, the soil was going to prevent the water from going through. So failure to execute the contract to the quality required. And remember that he was told to go back, but at his own cost. They were not going to add him any additional money. So he had to work within what he had been, what had been budgeted for. Underestimation of the tasks and failure to assign the right manpower to the job. I need not even, this is self-explanatory. Please don't underestimate the tasks. Every task that is actually outlaid is important. So I would like to encourage us that make sure you assign the right manpower to the job. Then lastly, failure to finance the contract. And this is something that we have experienced even from our colleagues in the bank, informing us that actually what is very uncomfortable about contractors is that they don't get themselves ready from a financial perspective. They want the bank to finance this 100%. If you come for contract financing, there is an expectation that you must have skin in the game. So don't expect that the bank will fund you 100%. By the time you have arrived here, you should have thought about it, plan well. And those are the things that we actually encourage you to do, to plan well before you get there. The next, I will talk about the new ventures and opportunities. So as we get closer to the peak of oil and gas opportunity in this stage, in the development phase, now we must look towards the operational phase and outside Ugandan borders, as I spoke to you, the opportunities that are coming up in Tanzania, the opportunities that are coming up in Mozambique, Namibia, the opportunities across Africa. So if you're an entrepreneur, please think big. Don't just limit yourself to the Ugandan borders. I am a proponent of the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement. It allows us to expound our boundaries beyond Uganda. So what we're encouraging Uganda entrepreneurs in that, even though capacity has grown, it is now time for Ugandan businesses to think and consider tapping into the opportunities that are coming. And also we want to help further build the capacity of Ugandan entrepreneurs to be in a position to externalize their products and services to other countries, as I have spoken about. But it's also to share with you that before you externalize, let me actually talk about the opportunities that we still have in Uganda and also even Tanzania by virtue of the pipeline. So ECOP, you know about the pipeline. So for tier 2 and 3 subcontracting mostly, this has been concluded, but it doesn't mean that those subcontractors cannot contract further down. This has an opportunity of about 4 to 5.8 billion in terms of the spend. It is going to cost the building of ECOP about 4 to 5.8 billion, but there are still opportunities in there. If you think about Kabale Industrial Park, this is going to accommodate several industries and infrastructure. The crude oil export hub, the refinery, petrochemical plants, polymer fertilizers, mixed industries, warehousing, logistics, agro-processing. So again, there's still an opportunity for SMEs to participate or Ugandan entrepreneurs. There is the Kabale International Airport. This one I'm excited about. And the reason why I'm excited about, because in there, 30% or even 50% is about the farmer, is about agriculture, is about getting the Ugandan fresh foods out of Uganda into other countries. So they have storage areas, for food, for vegetables, whatever it is that we do well, our pineapples. So construction is near completed. So the airport is to facilitate, yes, oil development, but also to support agriculture and tourism. And this has cost the government, or is costing the government, 309 million. But then the opportunities will be enormous once this airport is completed. Then we have the Kampala storage terminal, somewhere on the Kampala Masaka Road. Again, UNOC is intending to develop a 320 million litre facility. An environmental social impact assessment has been completed. What is ongoing is acquisition of a joint venture partner. This again will be a $300 million facility. So all this money will be spent here. Then in terms of Tilenga, I think you know much about that. But I think what is also interesting for us as well, real estate development. We've seen residential properties, commercial properties, hotels, warehousing going up. There is the Hoima refinery. The roads, we are not done with the roads. We are still constructing roads. So all these are opportunities for which, the oil sector is providing. And don't look at just these big things, but remember there's an ecosystem around every one of those projects. And that's where you come in. How do you fit in? When I'm given an opportunity to come back again, I will unpack the opportunities in these areas for the SMEs in particular. But I want to share with you some strategies for local participation. I want to encourage you to do your homework, to understand the industry and how you can fit in, how you can solve the issues around it. One thing that I've experienced is that many people are not even sure what they are solving for. If you don't know what you're solving for, then how are you expecting somebody else to come to take you on? So I want to encourage us to do homework, understand the industry. This industry is complex, but help yourself understand how you fit in and what you're solving. Determine who the decision makers or the purchasers are. What do I mean by that? Many times the Ugandans will go to the CE. The CE might not be the decision maker in this case. It might be the procurement person. It might be even the operations person. And many times, 9 times out of 10, it's the operations person because he knows how each part fits in. Don't kill yourself going to see the CE. The CE might be the overall person, but the person who understands how the puzzle fits in is actually, might be somebody else. Or it could be the procurement person. Go and seek to understand from procurement, what exactly do you mean by this? That would also be something that is helpful for us. Know your limitations and consider partnerships to grow. Now, I recently heard about an issue around this. And for me, I called it bad manners. My father used to say, Catherine, that is bad manners. But I'm saying this is bad manners in business. What do I mean by that? We have a culture of selfishness. Let me put it that way. And yet, we can be a part of a big thing. Many times we become a part of a small thing. Yet, if we join hands together, let me give an example. Would be good, for instance, if Mr. Amos Ongwara and David, if they are both in the same sector, if they met together and say, how do we eat this elephant? It is too big for me to handle, and also for you, it's very big. But if we join hands, we can work together. I will give you an example recently what happened. Somebody won a contract to supply into the oil and gas sector. He did well the first 6 months, the 7th month. You know what happened? He would meet the contract halfway and then call and say, I will bring the other, let me give an example of milk cartons. I was able to deliver 100 cartons of milk. I will deliver the other 20 next week, and then the other 20 in an oil and gas contract. What you purpose to deliver is what is expected of you. Now, this person is on the verge of losing a contract, and it was a very nice contract. If I were him, I would go and look for a partner and say, you know what, maybe things went wrong somewhere in terms of finances or whatever it is. Can we partner together so that we don't lose out? And then you go back to the oil company and say, by virtue of my inability to meet this contract, I am partnering with so and so. So that even that is registered. It is better for us not to lose contracts. And for me, it's a shame. Let me tell you a real story. And this happened in the neighboring country of the DRC. There is a company that moves with Total wherever Total goes. This company provides bread. Yes, you heard me correctly. Every morning, there was a plane that arrived in Kinshasa bringing bread from France. Now, it tells you one of two things. The bakers should have come together and say, we are going to handle this thing. But can you imagine bread arriving from France every morning? And they were comfortable. So with us at that time when the opportunity came, we were 100% rallying behind government to say, we must make sure that catering is done by Ugandans. We should not see a foreign company come to provide catering services. We are willing to provide the capacity building. We are willing to do this. We are willing to do that, just so that we can avoid what happened in DRC. And it's not just about catering, but there are also other services. Can you imagine a company coming from abroad and then coming and providing sand? And yet sand is in our backyard. We can get these lorries and provide sand. So when you know your limitations, please consider to partner and grow. It is also wonderful. Most of the companies, international companies that you see have actually partnered, or they've formed joint ventureships. These joint ventureships mean that I either bring the expertise you don't have, or when we put together our expertise, it is possible for us to do a better job. Build your industry knowledge and get connected. I think that is self-explanatory. But clearly communicate your product and service. At the incubator, we do boot camps. Boot camps, these allow SMEs to come. We give them an opportunity to come and tell us what they provide and which person they are targeting or which company. So it's kind of like your lion's den. Come and tell us why your business should be able to supply, for instance, into Total, or why your business should be able, either to win a grant, or why your business should be able to win, an equity injection into what it is that you're doing. So we help also to help SMEs to clearly communicate their product and services, articulate it. You will be surprised that many entrepreneurs don't know their businesses, or they might know it, but they can't communicate and articulate. So please, I'm also begging you, clearly learn to communicate your product and services. Promote a culture of safety. The number one thing, and I don't know how many of you have gone to Total or visited Sinop, the first thing they take you through is health and safety protocols. So you must also be able to adhere to health and safety protocols and let it be a culture also, in your company. Then deliver and meet expectations if you want to work in this industry. If you've not been able to deliver, I'm encouraging you. Please let us have a chat. Let's see how we can bridge those gaps for you. And then be patient, relentless, and fearless. Getting in could take time. This industry does not move fast. In fact, it can feel painfully slow. If you think about it, there was a slide I wish I was wondering whether to share it with you or not. If you think about the oil and gas sector in Uganda, when did it start? Many of you don't know that it started in 1900. When the first discovery was made. 1900, we're in 2024, the oil hasn't come out of the ground. But there is patience, there is slowness, but still the opportunity is there. Yeah, when we first heard about fast oil, when was it? So it's to say it's not going away, but also the opportunities across Africa. So build for Africa. Don't just build for Uganda. My slide is not shifting. Then strategies for the other thing that I wanted to tell you is also to build your brand identity through sustainable practices. Friends, I want to tell you that sustainability is no longer a buzzword. I think you might have had Total suddenly changing into Total Energy because there is now a need to identify with sustainable practices. Even in your small business, please start thinking about sustainability. You've had ESG, many people are talking about ESG. This is also a course that we offer at the incubator. It is about, does your company meet the standards, environmental standard, social standard, governance standard? These are no longer buzzwords. You please, 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 I would like to encourage you to share your commitments to the environment through stories that highlight renewable energy investments or initiatives that reduce carbon footprints. You must also have your reports. Start thinking about these reports. You might say, but I'm a five-man business. How do I start sharing? It could even be just the bulbs you're using in the offices. It could be how you're using water. Are you recycling waters? Maybe the plastics. Again, are you separating, paper, plastics in your office? It starts with one step at a time. Those are the stories you start telling about your businesses. Customers and investors align with businesses that care, making sustainability a potent tool in oil and gas marketing strategies. I was in Mozambique in the last 2.5 years. I was working in Mozambique. And I remember attending a UN conference. And at that UN conference, it was interesting that some statistics that were shared, it was stated that these days, especially, you might think it's the outside world, but now even in Africa, and especially with the Gen Zs, when they are looking into, where to buy products, they actually even see, how are these people recycling their plastics? How are they thinking about sustainability? So it is not something for the outside world or the development world. It's also here in Africa. It is come home to roost. So I would like to encourage you to start thinking about building your brand identity through sustainable practices. Leveraging digital transformation in the oil and gas sector is very important. In this era where screen time trumps face time, as we say, oil and gas companies must be embracing digital transformation if they are to remain competitive. We recently had a session with some SMEs around adopting digitization as a tool for marketing. And it was interesting what SMEs were thinking about. Should I come up with a website? And we're saying no. There are different ways in which you can digitize your business. It can even be the phone. It can even be maybe those who bank with Stanbic, FlexiPay to help you make payments, because at the end of it all, what that also helps you, it brings efficiency, but it also allows you to track, you know, the payments that you've been making, but it also allows you to avoid frauds in your businesses. So some of these things, sometimes avoid clients even paying you cash, you know. Why shouldn't they go and pay money in the bank, or why shouldn't they transfer money online, or why shouldn't they, you know, use a different payment method to pay you? That way you avoid handling of cash in your businesses. So I would like to encourage you to think about digitizing your business. It improves efficiency. Customer service is improved. You know, these digital frontiers, they are waiting to be explored as well in the oil and gas marketing strategies. I talked about strategic alliances and partnerships in marketing. As you steer through the tide of oil and gas, you are required, you know, to think about how you market your business. For small players, as I said, strategic alliances and partnerships are game changing. Collaborating is actually very important to complement your business. Don't even be shy of co-hosting webinars, you know, with technology providers, joint venture companies, with local entrepreneurs, you know. Please think about how you strategize your marketing. Marketing means that you invite other people to collaborate. These strategies are just not tactics, but are vital for you, you know, in terms of business growth. We want you to embrace that digital elegance we've talked about, champion sustainability, cultivate the right partners. With these strategies in hand, the local companies can do more than survive, but they can thrive and can be competitive in their environment. Um, and this is, I think, my last slide. We extend the supply development program. This is training and coaching, as I spoke to. This is capacity building for businesses interested in supplying in the energy sector. This lasts between 1 to 6 months, in that we have both physical and virtual, but we also partner with IOCs. This helps you to increase your ability to win bids, improve business operations, business registration, national supplier database registration. We expose you to the Albertine area. These are exploration visits, but also you get to have conversations with the oil majors. But we also have networking sessions. These are quarterly oil and gas series. And in here, we bring experts within the sector to have conversations with yourselves. And what we offer ranges from health and safety, contract management, bid management, procurement and negotiation, quality assurance, business ethics, but we also give you case studies. I've been talking about a few case studies. I've not gone through them in details, but these are real situations that are happening. And we would like you to learn from them. I think that's the last slide. So I want to thank you so much. And I welcome any questions, comments, contributions. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. Back to you, Ronald. Can you hear us?
Conversation, sorry, my line had dropped for a bit there. A big thank you for being here. A very important and helpful information. And really, I hope that the people who have been on the call have got an opportunity to say, you know what do I need to do right now? There are a couple of products there for those of you who want to enter the space. I think Catherine will leave us with our contact so that you can be able to plug in. But more importantly, we also have really the broader picture, because for some, they didn't know how wide the opportunities, or we didn't know how wide the opportunities in the oil and gas sector are, and exactly how we can be able to plug in. Now, we just have a few minutes for some Q&A. I'll allow, if you have a question, please put up your hand and ask. Feel free to also put your question in the chat box so that we can be able to capture it. If you have a question specifically, please go ahead and ask that question so that we can be able to take this forward from here. A number of people have joined us. Thank you so much for joining. Some of you are already in the oil and gas space. Some of you are making your way to the oil and gas space. And really what is important is to see how do we make sure that this big opportunity that has come to this country, we are, as Ugandans, we are the net beneficiaries of this opportunity. That's really the big question. How do we make sure we pull as much opportunity back? And how do we pull back this opportunity? By making sure that we are giving services to this sector that are worth paying for. Catherine, as you spoke, I thought it was absolutely fascinating about how long oil has been here, over 120 years, but more importantly, how hard it is to get it out of the ground, but also the challenges businesses are facing. You talked about the business which had supplied well for 6 months and it choked. And I would argue that this is not something which is unique to the oil and gas sector. It is true in all sectors. How do you sustain? I mean, a client asks you to deliver 100 loaves of bread every day at 8. How do you do it for 365 days? When it rains, when it shines, when there are transport problems, when there is traffic jam, the loaves of bread arrive at exactly 8. How do you do that? You talked about a plane carrying bread from France to Kenya, rather to Tanzania. Those are questions I think we need to ask. But I thought it was also very important what you picked on, that we shouldn't limit ourselves to what you'd call the smaller opportunities, a bit of logistics, a bit of supplies. How do we get into the big game? How do we get into the big game? You've said we have seen our Nigerian brothers have done it. We need to ask ourselves, how do we actually get there so that we transition? What kind of businesses? I mean, I may enter this as a logistics company, but is there a time when I can also get into the prospecting business and be able to do some exploration? Those are important questions that you raised as you went through your presentation, and it's great. So if you have a question, please go ahead and put the question in the chat box. I see Henry says, thank you for a holistic presentation. Thank you, Henry. I've seen that. I see a number of thank yous. Emmanuel says, thank you. And also talking about safety and risk. Emmanuel is a proponent of this specific space. Thank you so much. Henry asked about the slides. Henry will organize and be able to share some information with you, including the recording. Roger says, Roger is a livestock farmer. I mean, Roger, you are in the right space. And in Bulisa district, meaning you are close. You are the people that have been talking about who are right next in the space. So, Catherine, we have a couple of questions. Yes, Beatrice, nice to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Beatrice is an Enterprise Uganda alumni, so glad to see you, Beatrice. Henry has a question. How do companies qualify for the Stanbic Incubator? Companies or individuals, startups or even older companies? So, Catherine, please speak to that and possibly also share in the chat box how people can be able to register their interest. Godfrey Alidwe, please, Godfrey, please go ahead and ask your question. I see your hand up, then we'll invite Henry.
Thank you so much, Ronald. In fact, I will begin by thanking Catherine for an elaborate presentation. By the names, I'm called Alindo Joffre. I'm based in the Bulisa district. I think there's something that has touched me so much that I wanted to add on a voice on the issue of preparing for the risks. I happen to have at least seen or witnessed most of the contractors on this project, mostly the Turinga project, whereby the challenge we have, as Catherine elaborated it well, most of the contractors who want to come and be part of this project have not prepared themselves on how to tackle the challenges or risks. We have had cases of contractors. First of all, the person wants a contract, but is asking for a 5 months upfront. He says, okay, I have the services, but I don't have capital to start. Can you give me an upfront of 5 months? And this person is saying, come with money and you start. Secondly, if someone comes in the business, but a client has challenges of paying you first, because the person wants you to first use your money, then this money will be reimbursed. You find a contractor is using employees. Employees have gone for 5 months. They are not being paid because the person has not been paid. So this also helps us. This also puts us in a presentation where she was saying we need to be very prepared when we are going for this business, when we are going for these contracts. Let us prepare for risks. There will come a challenge whereby a client will not pay you for 3 months. How are you going to sustain this contract? You find most of the people are failing. People are fighting, employees are quarreling, they are not coming for work, and the client wants you to deliver because you came for a contract, knowing you will manage. So at the end of it all, what I'm trying to say is preparation for risks is very important. Even when you want these contracts, how prepared are you? This calls for merging, as Catherine said. Let us not present ourselves as individuals. Let us look for capacity. Let us look for people who have capacity to help us move forward. This sector, if we want to move it as individuals, we shall not manage. We shall cry and cry that the local people are not being given a contract, are not being considered. But the problem is capacity. We don't want to work in groups. Either we want to work as individuals. As Catherine said, we want to be mean. Otherwise, thank you so much for this presentation. It has been a good one. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. You raised a very important bit there, really, about how can we partner, how can we build capacity. I think that's absolutely true. Catherine, I think when you touch on that comment and question, I also want you to touch on the broader services of the financing industry. You can specifically talk about Stanbic Bank, but ideally, I want to do the contract for a year, but I don't have enough money. How do I work with my bank, and what kind of person do I need to be for the bank to accept me to do that? I'll go to Rogers, then Mwami Iga, and then possibly, I think I also saw Beatrice's hand up, so we will get there. Rogers, over to you. Please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Catherine, for the in-depth presentation. It was really good. For me, my request is should devise means to see this information comes down to local people, to local farmers. Because if you want local participation in this sector, people are lacking adequate information. This information is more centralized, yet oil is in the villages, in rural areas, and these people lack information. They're just seeing activities going on, they're seeing cars moving, but they don't know how they benefit, what is required of them. So you find someone in Kampala, someone in Nigeria knows what is happening in Bulisa than someone who is neighboring the well part in Bulisa. So as Stanbic incubators, for me, I'm lucky that I've joined and I'm able to access different platforms to get information. But there are those local people who are illiterate, but they are in business. They can't log into these online sessions to get this information. So we should look into that to ensure that there is general participation and information about this sector if we want to see country going forward. Thank you. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Rogers. Mr. Iga, over to you.
Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Madam Catherine. Thank you very much indeed. I've got two questions, and one of them implicates me. Let me start with the other. Enterprise Uganda is probably the best entity for supporting small and medium enterprises in Uganda in terms of growing their capacity, getting them to appreciate the business. The biggest entrepreneurs in Uganda, the biggest number of entrepreneurs in Uganda are actually the small-scale farmers, only that they don't think about themselves as entrepreneurs. They face challenges like not being able not only to calculate, but to realize that their biggest input needs to be costed for. The point I'm making is it possible that we could get institutions, companies like yours, to directly partner with entities like Enterprise Uganda to have field offices, for example, in Bulisa, in Hoima, to work at this thing of getting our farmers to grow solid associations and ultimately cooperatives. I'm a very great believer that one of the best ways, if not the best way to get this country to go somewhere, is to be very, very solid at the bottom. And for that to happen, it takes years, if not decades, of capacity building. And when I look, most of us in business development services are in Kampala. There is no solid, consistent presence in the field. So I wonder if that can be thought about. You say for the next 10 years, we are partnering with Enterprise Uganda. We want a presence in this place and in this place to see that we focus on nothing but getting cooperatives or farmer organizations to operate properly. Secondly, the question of who comes to the incubator, most Ugandans growing their businesses organically grow very slowly, and that's where I'm implicated, very, very slowly. By the time they get to a point of being meaningful in terms of impact, the founders are towards the end of their useful life, if you go by the average Ugandan longevity. If I am 55, I have just gotten my NSSF, I've strengthened my company or my SME in whichever way I can. How do I get to partner with programs like the incubator? How does one get in, even though they already seem a bit bigger than the usual Ugandan SME? Otherwise, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Iga. I think Beatrice, do you have that question or? Beatrice, are you there?
Yes, Ronald, I'm here. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much, Ronald, for hosting this conversation. And I also want to thank Catherine. There's also this big elephant. I think most of us are very much aware about it, the corruption in contract awarding. I know it is something that has really, really strained so many people when it comes to contracts. And I would give an example. You probably get a contract of about 100 million, and you have this person probably on the contract committee asking for even an advance of about 10 or 20 million before even the contract is awarded. And it really, really affects a lot of businesses because it compromises at the end of the day the quality of product or service that you're contracted to provide, and generally just messes up the whole contract. And these guys have really positioned themselves as semi-gods. Before you get a contract, they will really frustrate you until you give in, and somehow it has just eaten up the whole system and generally anything to do with contracts and procurement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. Very good question, and I think close to many people's hearts. Henry, I saw your hand up earlier. I just wanted to give you a chance before I invite back Catherine.
Yes, thank you. You can hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you, Henry.
Yes, I wanted to ask, how can private sector like Stanbic Bank come to support skills development capacity? Like, we have a petroleum institute in Kigumba, but I believe it is surrounding about petroleum exploration development. But can you partner with them to expand the scope of training, like in the areas of contract management, governance issues, all the things Catherine talked about of building capacity? Because as you know, these government institutions, they don't have the capacity. I know they don't get enough funding. So how can the stand become, because now you have an incubator program, and that area you have skills, and how can you partner with them? Is it possible? That is my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Henry. Very good questions you've asked. I'll invite Catherine back in a moment. And I think possibly, Catherine, you could also talk about the work you have done with cooperatives. As Enterprise Uganda, we have participated in some of your programs with the Stanbic incubator. But I think there's certainly more opportunity for more work, especially in that area of the small scale businesses, which is an area which Enterprise Uganda concentrates on a lot. I know that Catherine will actually also be this afternoon speaking to the ecosystem, which is leading on the parish development model on a similar subject. So you could also touch on the work you have done with cooperatives and the opportunities you see for growth. Catherine, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ronald, and thank you so much for the questions that have come in. I am very passionate about farmers. And so thank you for that question around farmers. But maybe let me just tell you a bit about what we have done, especially with farmers. We've not left them behind, because at the end of it all, if you think about it, we said food is one of those ring-fenced services. At a point in time, Ugandans were not able to supply food, and they're still not able to supply food in the oil and gas sector. And let me give you an example. If you go into the Telenga camp, one of the camps, per day, they're expected to have 3 proteins. By that, I mean chicken, pork, beef. Those are 3 proteins they're expected to have, the people who are in the camp. And how many who are in the camp? Maybe 2,500. And it's not the only camp. So if I give that as an example. So if we don't think about the farmer, as Uganda, we will lose out. You will see beef arriving from somewhere else, pork coming from somewhere else, vegetables. And also we've had instances where somebody has won a contract to supply tomatoes, and then they run out of tomatoes. It also tells us we've not planned well around cold rooms, because there's a season, I remember going to Hoima, and along that Hoima Road, everybody was selling tomatoes. And I said, who is going to buy these tomatoes? There's so much one person can buy. But if there's a cold room where when farmers harvest, we buy these tomatoes from them, we put them in a cold room, it means then the farmer, you've thought about the farmer, but also it means there's a constant supply of this. So what do I mean we have not left the farmer behind? We, as Stanbic Incubator, we partnered with Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, and we brought what we called backyard and horticulture farming. We supported UNOC to build capacity of 40 farmer groups represented in a pilot. And later, we reached over 1,000 farmers. We were training them in terms of, the farming methods, the products, the standard. And this project has been able to reach 6 districts, namely Hoima, Chikube, Chiriandongo, Bulisa, Masindi, and Chibali. We are not stopping there, but we are revisiting how we deliver this backyard and horticulture, because also there are standards. In a tomato, what sort of tomato is needed? What sort of potato is needed? What sort of cabbage? We are also in there. So even as much as we are thinking about the big player, we are also thinking about the small person. We've also done what we call 1 acre farming. This one we partnered with UNDP. This was mostly around animal care. And the beneficiaries that we intended here were the youth as well, youth who are in farming. But also, how do you support capacity building for subsistence farmers using the 1 acre model? We had 330 farmers who were trained and linked to market opportunities. So we've not left the farmer behind. But also, along that eco pipeline, we trained various businesses. The small business, we did not leave them behind. Actually, from an incubator perspective, even as we have the supplier development program, we have the supplier accelerator program, we also have the enterprise development program. This is for that last person, you know, the person who has a small business. And so we are thinking across the value chain from small to large. So essentially is to say that it's for us to improve. There are lessons we have learned. What do we do differently? So on the farmer, we've not forgotten. The entrepreneur, you talked about that entrepreneur who probably suddenly gets his NSSF at 55, and then, you know, when is he going to think about partnership? I think from when you start your business, you will know that when you need a partner to come in. And for me, especially in this sector, I have seen that this sector, those who are in partnership thrive better. But one thing I want to talk about, especially the entrepreneurs who have started their businesses, think about what I call key man risk. If you're the only person who knows your business and you have not passed on that knowledge to somebody else. Many times our children even are not interested in our businesses. We build successful businesses, but our children are not. But we will have loyal employees, you understand, who will take on our businesses forward. So one cohort that we are introducing is actually talent for SMEs, in that you also need workers who are professional. There are people who might do well in corporates, but there are also people who thrive in SMEs. Not everybody wants to go and work maybe for Stanbic, but there's somebody who wants to work with you as an entrepreneur. So please be open to that. We shall put again a request for proposals for those who are interested in joining the incubator. Somebody was asking how we joined the incubator. We actually put these adverts out in the papers, on our website. Even we advertise on radio, those who would like to join the incubator. We then look at the criteria, because also we actually look at sectors. Sometimes we sectorize and look at logistics. Sometimes we look at those who are in agribusiness, depending on that moment in time. Because oil and gas is not only about oil and gas, but it's also the ecosystem around oil and gas. One time we will look at a particular sector that we feel, this sector, there's been a lot of, you know, limping feedback we are getting. Maybe we just need to, you know, to get more people to join this sector, or we do a refresher in form of a masterclass for particular sectors. But we will call for proposals for the supplier development program. That's the program that deals with oil and gas in the coming year in January. This year, we are running with programs in climate change, climate smart jobs. We are partnering with Palladium. Those ones mostly to support farmers and women. We are also partnering with GIZ to help women in farming, how to use better farming methods. But we are also, so partnership is actually something that we do so well. It's we are in the process of signing an agreement with the Enterprise Uganda so that we work better. I said I was so privileged that Enterprise Uganda invited me to join and have a conversation. But it's to say that we shall be partnering with Enterprise Uganda, and we shall come up with cohorts where we actually run programs together. So please watch out for that. It's coming. And information sharing, as I said, we've already shared information with farmers, but we continue to do that. Right now, we are training 1,500 SACCO leaders, but these are farming SACCO leaders who head SACCOs that are into farming across the country. Here in Kampala, we have been training those SACCOs that are in the Kampala region and Wakiso, and that will continue until the end of November. There's a team that is in Gulu. There's a team that is in Kitgum. Then we are also going to Arua. So the SACCOs, we believe, also bring the farmers together. So by training SACCOs, by extension, we are training farmers as well. And we've also come up with facilities on the bank side where we extend SACCOs, those who are in farming, loans of north of 1.5 billion at 10% per annum. And also those circles that are into trading, we lend to them at 12% per annum. So that is on the banking side. So somebody was asking a bit around what are some of the products that we, from a bank's perspective, I can briefly speak on behalf of the bank. So it also depends where you are in terms of what you're supplying. The products that we have are bonds and guarantees. We also have import financing for those who are importing. We also have letters of credit, confirming and discounting, export transferable LCs. We have FX solutions for those, of course, who are importing, but we also, those who would like to buy assets like vehicles, trucks. We also have vehicle and asset financing. But also, the other thing that people forget, we also help you to manage your cash, what we call cash management. That will this money be enough for you? You know, when we talked about that person who failed to meet their contract, it means that there was a problem with their cash flow cycle. You know, we also help you plan your cash flow cycle. So we have various products depending on where you are at, but we also extend you digital platforms to allow you improve efficiency in how you manage your money. FlexiPay, we talked about it. It's to allow you, you know, to transfer money, you know, seamlessly without you leaving your business to go and now start doing banking. So we have borderless banking for those who want to maybe transfer money to South Sudan, to Kenya, Tanzania. We also have that borderless banking. And there are a number of things that we extend, cash in transit, but this is if you're transporting large sums of money. But let me share with you one or two things, because I think some of the messaging that you have, the messages that I have received here are very interesting. Let me end up by saying these things. With regards to access to finance, these are some things that you should be wary of. One, the profile of the client, how the bank looks at the profile of the client. Is there limited experience? A number of businesses are startups and have limited experience in the field. So the bank is wary because they are thinking, oh, this is going to lead to a performance risk. Then the other thing is limited equity. Have a stake in your business. Even the stake in that contract, have a stake in there. So therefore, this means that the business is not able to absorb the shocks in the industry because there might be a price fluctuation. What happens to you? If you are buying flour from, say, Mandela for your bakery, and he increases it by 20 shillings, can your business absorb that shock? So have some money that you put aside, a bump, not necessarily a bumper, but you know, some money that you put aside to say, this is to manage those price fluctuation, inflation, FX risks. Then the other thing for me is the quantum of contracts that are awarded versus track record. The value of contracts might be significantly higher relative to your track record. And this is where I said that, please bring in professionals, bring in partnerships, so that where you're strong, where your weak can be, supported by somebody's strength elsewhere. Then these newly formed partnerships, such as joint ventures, they are a necessary ingredient to win contracts, but they might face also some problems. However, it is important that you understand when you're going into this joint venture partnership, what are the liabilities I'm carrying? What are the liabilities the other person is carrying? So that everybody knows where they stand. So that's why I was saying that you're complementing each other. The nature of contracts. Contracts are structured to suit the interest of the anchor clients. No matter where you go, the contract is suited to for the interest of government, for the interest of Total. So make sure, that's what I was telling you, understand the industry, understand how it works, but also remember with them as well, they are also accountable somewhere else. Then debt capacity is limited. This is premised on weak balance sheet. This is especially amidst, you know, significant financing requirements. Think about it, that by the time I'm going into this contract, can my balance sheet handle If it doesn't handle, it is okay for you not for you to pass on this one. Other than mortgaging your house, mortgaging your father's house and your sister's house, no, it is not worth it. So please make sure that you, whatever you're borrowing, that you are going to be able to pay it back, and that you're going to be very professional how you run this. Then the other thing for me is regulation. That lack of right certification to participate. We help people in their ISO certification journey. So we do encourage you to to consider whether you're partnering with Enterprise Uganda or ourselves. We just encourage you, seek help. Then the last bit that I'm going to talk about, how have other companies been able to participate? Partnerships, I can't stop talking about it, but experienced partners, that's what I wanted to say. Use professionals. Please, 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 SMEs, learn to use professionals. Use the right accountant, the right lawyer, an auditor. It is okay. Right now, it will cost you, but in the long term, it will be to your benefit. You understand? Right certification. Have equity in the business. Experienced employees to mitigate performance risk. Good contract negotiation. We actually offer contract negotiation here. Good financial planning and costing. How much debt, how much equity should I have? Should I have 30% debt, 10% equity, 60? Think about that in your business. Standards, use of global standards. In this industry, whatever happens, they will not lower the standards because you happen to be Ugandans. They will not. This is an international industry. They've existed long before even we existed in terms of a country. So please make sure that they are using global standards. I will tell you that we've had successes. Clients who have been able to participate at the incubator have obtained ISO certification. They've been able to attain networks. We've been able to help them with bid preparations. The other ones that is very important is that actually some of these clients, they can actually share. We came through the incubator. If it wasn't for the incubator, we would not be here. There are clients like Inspector, Crystal Catering, Blue Tex, Case Hospital, Multiline Transport and Logistics, many more that I can give examples of. And in fact, if you one day come and visit us at the incubator, we have whole albums full. I call them albums, but they are profiles of people who've been through the incubator and have successfully been able to enter this industry. Ronald, I beg to submit.
Wow, wow, wow. Thanks a lot, Catherine. Our time has run out. Been a very insightful conversation. And I think as Catherine mentioned, and I want to just possibly share with the team here that there is a broader ecosystem of people who support businesses. And one of the aspirations of the national BDS framework and the strategy is really how can we as ecosystem players help. Catherine has shared with you as the Stanbic incubator, they are doing an amazing job, especially in the oil and gas sector. And to just understand the path to success in that sector, some of you have heard of other partners, the Outbox, the Innovation Village, a number of partners really who are supporting the businesses. But I think that, as Catherine has said, the responsibility squarely falls on the entrepreneur to find help. The help exists, but you have to find it. And sometimes you actually have to pay for it. If you want a lawyer to help you, if you want an accountant to help you, you have to pay for those services. So it's important for you to say, what do I need at this point? And really to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. For us as Enterprise Uganda, one of the things we see as success is starting with a small entrepreneur, and we find that they have grown into a sizable business that can even access oil and gas. And if the incubator picks him up and pushes him to the next level, there are people who work at a level of, you are looking for $2 million, $3 million of investment, and that group also exists. So as an ecosystem, it's important that that process keeps going. And as Catherine has mentioned, we are currently in negotiations with the incubator to see how we can solidify our collaboration. A big thank you to everyone who has joined. Catherine, I just want to invite you to make a couple of final remarks, and then we can wrap up the day. Catherine, are you there? Sorry, you're muted.
So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to present. I think the one thing that I said and that I started with is that that this has not been easy, especially for the SMEs and many companies, but now they appreciate what it means also to be compliant in a sector such as oil and gas. It also improves our standards. I think what I want to encourage you is that don't think about just limiting yourselves to the Ugandan borders. We are in a better space, especially in Uganda. As I told you previously, as I was in Mozambique, they don't have national content. What they call national content is actually foreign companies coming and registering and participating. For us, we've had the opportunity where government has allowed us to, build our capacity in particular areas. But now it's for me also to encourage you, not just the ring-fenced opportunities, think beyond the ring-fenced opportunities. Actually, the higher you go up the value, the value chain, the better in terms of return. So I would like also to encourage those SMEs that are considering to get into the next phase of operation and maintenance to start thinking about what role you will play in that stage. And one I want to say is that what we've been able to achieve has been made possible also with the partners that we have, PAU, UNOC, Total, SINOC, but also other partners. I must add that we did not do this alone, so I also acknowledge and appreciate the support and contribution and time that various partners have taken on this program. They've shared their expertise, but also they've shared their knowledge, which is invaluable to the entrepreneurs. And so mine is to leave you with just two things. Please think about partnerships, costing, risks, but also think beyond Uganda. The opportunities are there. And even as we continue this journey, we welcome the opportunity to see some of you come and join us at the next Supply Development Program and other programs that we have. Thank you once again, Enterprise Uganda, Ronald, for giving Stanbic Business Incubator an opportunity to share with you about the oil and gas sector. Long may this partnership continue. Thank you. God bless.
Great. Thanks a lot, Catherine. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. We are very, very honored. We are totally excited about what you're doing, and thank you for the work. Thank the team. I know there is a bigger team behind you. So thank you so much for being part of this conversation and really kind of helping a business step into an area which is unfamiliar territory. A big thank you to everyone who has joined. I will be back next Thursday. Next Thursday, we'll be talking about clean energy and what opportunities are there, how you can make your business become more energy efficient. Catherine talked about ESGs, but it's part of that broader conversation. Next month, we have the Global Entrepreneurship Week. Catherine, we want to invite you for the Global Entrepreneurship Week. It's the 3rd week of November. It's a week when we celebrate entrepreneurship, and we'll see how I will be in touch to just see how we can be able to broaden this conversation. But everyone, next month, the week of 3rd November, the 3rd week of November, we will be having the Global Entrepreneurship Week. We'll have the conference on 19th of November. Please put that in your calendars. That's the conference which Enterprise Uganda organizes. But there are many other partners who are organizing many programs during that week. I'll be sure to communicate them in the coming Business Recovery Series sessions. So please, and if you want to do an activity during the week, don't hesitate. Please just get in touch. I'm going to ask Derek to just post a link for those who want to just do an activity during that week. During the Global Entrepreneurship Week, really what we do is all of us as entrepreneurs, all of us as entrepreneur support organizations, we come together to celebrate the Global Entrepreneurship Week. And really, it is all institutions celebrating in the way they can. Enterprise Uganda organizes a conference, for example. There are partners who will organize online sessions. This is run by Gen Uganda. Gen Uganda is part of the Global Entrepreneurship Network, which brings the whole world together. This week is celebrated in over 150 countries. And really, we come together to say, you know what, entrepreneurship is tough, but thank you for being part of it. So 3rd week of November is the Global Entrepreneurship Week. Those of you who would want to attend the ETW, Derek has just posted a partner form. Please go ahead and fill it if you want to be able to engage in any of the activities, and we will be able to participate. You are all invited especially for the online community. That's the only time we get to meet physically. So on the 19th of November, we shall be, I think, at Hotel Africana Naya Hall, and we'll be coming together to just celebrate entrepreneurship together for a day. I know that the online is great, but sometimes you want to know who exactly is Amos, who exactly is Henry, to meet them, see them face to face, and be able to share a cup of tea and share a meal together. So we look forward to having you there on next month, 19th of November. If you want to attend the ETW, please, the link has been shared in there. Go ahead and fill the link. And also, if you want to be visited by one of our business advisors, a business health check, please go ahead and make sure that we can be able to do that and visit you. Thank you so much for being here, Catherine. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you so much for giving us the back office here. We are very grateful, Lydia. Please thank the entire team at the Stanbic Incubator. We wish them well, and we hope that we can together transform our country by building stronger entrepreneurs. To all of you entrepreneurs, keep pushing, keep growing. Don't give up. Don't give up. It's a tough environment. I think to Beatrice's question, it's tough. Sometimes the contract, sometimes the request for kickbacks, but the entrepreneur keeps going. And we have seen entrepreneurs emerge even in our environment. And that's what this session is about. How can we be able to energize each other to keep growing? So thank you so much. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you again next Thursday at 9 o'clock.